Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and today I want to talk about all of the books that I have rated 5 stars in 2025 so far. It's not a lot to talk about. I've only finished, I think, 14 books halfway through the year, and while I have enjoyed more or less every book that I've read so far, I have only rated 5 of those books 5 stars. So those are the 5 books I'm going to be talking about today. I'm not going to rank these against each other. I am just going to talk about them in the order in which I read them. So starting with Artificial Condition by Martha Wells. This is the second book in the Murderbot Diaries series. I can't, because it's a sequel, get into too many details, but just to talk about the series in general. We follow Murderbot, and it is a security unit, a cyborg that is assigned to different research teams or companies or what have you for security purposes. And oftentimes these research teams or expeditions need to hire out security units in order to have insurance, basically. The security unit, Murderbot, something happened in Murderbot's past. We're not sure what, because its memory has been wiped, but it still gets kind of glimpses. It knows people were killed, and it still gets glimpses because although the memories were wiped from its robotic or computer parts, because it is a cyborg, a lot of its biological parts, its neurons, retain some vague memories. So that's the character that we're following. And Murderbot has found a way to hack its governor module. The governor module is basically a failsafe, a way to make sure that security units will follow the commands given by the team or by its owner. Murderbot has hacked this, and so therefore is basically a free agent, a rogue bot, and it is trying to keep this fact hidden from its team. And really, Murderbot just wants to watch soap operas on the media feed and not bother with humans. It finds humans very stupid and distracting, and sometimes feels a bit put out having to keep them safe. Murderbot is kind of has this neutral tone, but also this undercurrent of sarcasm and sassiness that really makes the character kind of lovable. So yeah, the series on a whole is just really very fun and interesting. It's a nice little sci-fi series. But the second one, because of some other characters that Murderbot gets to interact with, I thought those interactions were just really fun. I thought the plot really came together very well. So the second one for me was top notch. The second book I've rated 5 stars is The Remarkable Journey of Coyote Sunrise by Gemeinhart. This is a middle grade book, and it follows a 12-year-old girl named Coyote Sunrise. That is her chosen name. It's not her original name. She and her father have assumed new names as they try to start a new life together. Their family, her mother and 2 sisters, were killed in a car accident 5 years previously, and she and her father left their hometown. Her father found it very difficult to stay there and wanted to kind of forget the past and move on with life. So they have this converted school bus, and he homeschools her, and they just drive around the country, never staying in one place very long. This has made it hard for her to form any sort of meaningful friendship because they move from place to place. But in this book, throughout the journey that she goes on, they pick up different people who need rides or who need help getting to places. And so there's a bit of a found family element. There's friendships that she is finally able to form. They have different problems that, she helps them solve in a way, or they kind of help each other. And so that dynamic was really nice. It is a bit of a tearjerker. It made me cry a couple of times. There is this element of grief that is unresolved or not allowed to be dealt with. Her father is in a bit of denial. He wants to forget, but in forgetting or forcing her to forget is actually keeping her from moving on with her life and is painful. In the book, she learns through a phone call with her grandmother that a part close to where they used to live is about to be bulldozed. And she decides she has to get back to her hometown before this happens in just a few days' time, because she and her mother and sisters, just a few days before their car accident, had buried a box full of letters and drawings and different mementos that they were going to open 10 years later. And of course, they died. She wants to retrieve this box and goes on this adventure to try to get her father back to their hometown without him really knowing what she's doing. A beautiful book for the intended age group, because it really discusses how grief works, and trying to not deal with grief actually doesn't help. And in remembering people that we've lost is actually helpful, and a way to honor them and a way to deal with those feelings of sadness. So a really great middle grade book. The next book that I rated 5 stars is The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This is a horror novel about vampires, or rather a vampire in the South, and a book club kind of catches wind that this person is a vampire. Or at first they're not sure if he's a vampire or if there's just something a little off about him. But he makes them uneasy, especially one character who is basically who we follow throughout the story. It is a story of Patricia, this woman, and other housewives in the 1990s who have a book club where they read somewhat salacious or sensational books, a lot of true crime books that some of their husbands would maybe not appreciate them reading. So as one of them kind of starts to discover these things about this person who has moved into town, it's unclear to everybody whether she has stumbled across something very, very wrong with this person, or whether she is just a bored housewife making up stories, or even deluding herself because of the dark, twisted books that they read. I loved the fact that this book revolved around these middle-aged women. They seem like such an unlikely group of people to deal with this threat, this vampire. But then when you think about it, they are the perfect group. These are the people that take care of everything, that take care of everybody, that get things done. And I just loved watching them, especially Patricia, watching her figure out what was going on. You do get frustrated at times with her because she second guesses herself, because it sounds so outrageous that this supernatural thing is happening. But overall, you just really root for her to figure out what's going on and to figure out a way to get rid of this vampire. It's one of those horror books that has a lot of different layers. I think it would actually make a great book club book, although it might be a bit dark for some. There are some very grotesque things that happen in this book, but I just thought it was beautifully executed. And finally, the last book that I rated 5 stars this year is A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott. This is a collection of essays. The author was born in the United States and moved to an area in Ontario called Six Nations. She is Indigenous through her father. Her mother is white, and her mother had a lot of mental health issues, mental illness, and her upbringing, her childhood, her indigeneity play a part in many of the essays. There are essays dealing with the poverty she faced growing up because of her indigeneity, but also because of her mother's mental illness and her father's abuse and the trauma that he was working through. Some essays deal very specifically with the mother's mental illness and how that affected her and her siblings. Some essays deal with her indigeneity and how that played a part in her life and how she is perceived, and also how her proximity to whiteness and her ability to pass for white affects her life in ways different from other family members. There are essays on childhood abuse and neglect and how we reconcile with abusers who do terrible things, but who also love and nurture and care for you. So I thought each essay gave a lot to chew on, to reflect on. I also loved how cohesive the collection is. Sometimes essay collections can feel a little jumbled because they are just essays throughout an author's life, but these, while they were dealing with different topics, all wove together because, of course, each topic has multiple layers and no one thing that she's talking about is in isolation. So it all felt very interconnected, and I thought that made the collection really stand out. Those were the 5 books that I've rated 5 stars so far this year. Please share below your best books of the year so far. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll chat soon. Take care. Bye.